Hi, welcome to Cloud Collaboration for Civil 3D using BIM 360. My name is Andrew Milford. I'm the Senior Product Manager for Civil Infrastructure, focusing on roads and highways and land development projects. Just a little bit about me. I'm currently based in Sydney, Australia. I am expecting to move across to New Hampshire once the excitement of COVID settles down. My background, I have over 25 years of design experience in the civil infrastructure industry, mostly as a highways modeler. I specialised in large-scale infrastructure projects. I also spent some time working in the land development side of things, but yeah, my background was mostly large civil jobs. I've been with Autodesk now for over 6.5 years. I've been with the product team for only 6 months. I think the previous 6 years before that, I was working in the consulting team, working with a lot of our named accounts and large customers. In my spare time as well, I also like to develop processes and automation tools through scripts. I started to learn Autodesk many years ago, migrated to the .NET API, and recently been spending a lot of time with Dynamo and Python. So today we're going to start looking at Civil 3D and BIM 360 Design and BIM 360 Docs, and just looking at, first of all, how do we set up a new project, or more importantly, how do we begin to migrate an existing project into the BIM 360 environment. We're going to look at how we can leverage support and reference files within BIM 360, and by that I mean looking at things like our XREFs and our DREFs and any kind of support files we need, whether it's external data files that build up our surfaces, or even looking at things like QTO files. And lastly, we'll just have a look at some of the tips and tricks and just some of the things we need to be considering to get the best performance out of our model. So this will be more of a Civil 3D AutoCAD drawing cleanup exercise, and we'll just look at some of the best tips and tricks to look at through that. So just as a bit of an overview, I'm just going to look at, first of all, what is BIM 360, because there's a lot of different terms floating around there around BIM 360, around the modules. We have things like BIM 360 Docs, BIM 360 Design, BIM 360 Assets. So let's just try and clarify what we need from a civil infrastructure perspective. So BIM 360 Design for Civil 3D, it's a collaboration platform that enables Civil 3D data shortcut projects to be stored inside of BIM 360. It's used for all project stakeholders who need the ability to collaborate with the entire team, to find, view, comment, and approve project information. BIM 360 Design for engineers, contractors, and extended team stakeholders who need to securely collaborate in real time on Civil 3D projects and project deliverables. It also allows project teams to collaborate on Civil 3D data shortcut projects inside of BIM 360. This is available as an entitlement of BIM 360 Design. Users should be familiar with the workflows because they're quite similar to Civil 3D, but instead of saving files locally, a desktop connector enabled connected drive is used to work with the files inside of BIM 360. Just looking at some of the user requirements here, this BIM 360 Design for Civil 3D was released last year around November in the AU timeframe. You must have at least Civil 3D 2020.2. The latest releases have gone up to 2020.4 and 2021.1. They are the current versions of Civil 3D. You also need entitlement to BIM 360 Design, as well as the Autodesk Desktop Connector. Now, at the time of this recording, we are up to Desktop Connector version 14.2.0.1082, and we highly recommend this is the version that you use because it actually improves the stability around the sheet set management quite considerably. Additionally, you require an invitation to at least one BIM 360 project with permissions to access the project folders, and it really helps to have a robust internet connection. So what's new inside of BIM 360? Well, looking back to Civil 3D 2021.1, which was released only a few weeks back, we've now included support for reference templates, large surfaces, so the MMS files, they're now automatically tracked and repathed upon uploading to the BIM 360 environment. We also have included support for surface data paths, so that could be things like your XMLs or your point files. They're now automatically updated when they get pushed up to BIM 360, as well as some general performance improvements. From the desktop connector side, we've actually added support for the DST or sheet set files. So this means that when you're uploading the DST file, it actually uploads all of the related drawings to BIM 360. Opening up a DST file will actually sync or download the related drawings. Opening up a drawing from within inside the sheet set manager will actually lock the drawing. And in Civil 3D 2020.1, there is a command called enable DST lock, one word, which is currently set to 0 by default. If you set that to 1, when you download the DST file, it will actually lock that file off and allow the user to perform edits on the sheet set file. So how do we work with projects inside of BIM 360? Well, there are actually two main scenarios. The first is when you have the full entitlement, that is BIM 360 Docs and BIM 360 Design. This is required if you want to actually have all the data shortcut creation and management features within the BIM 360 environment. If you're working with BIM 360 Docs only, you can actually open and work in drawings that contain data shortcut references. You can synchronize and validate shortcuts. And the shortcut commands that require the collaboration for civil functionality, they'll display a message to alert you of the actual requirement. So now we'll start looking at how to set up a BIM 360 project. Okay, so we're going to set up a new BIM 360 project. We're going to use a template in this example. So in order to actually achieve that, we need to get onto BIM 360. So we're going to set up our BIM 360 project. So I'm going to navigate to docs.b360.autodesk.com/sign in. Alternatively, you can get to this from an email that you may be sent if you're part of a project, which I'm going to sign in. Okay, we're going to come up to the top. We're going to change the account. You can see we have our list of projects. So in this case, we need to create a new project. So we're going to come across over here to this icon. We're going to simply left click on that and look at the moment we have document management, we have project admin. We're going to navigate to account admin. And this is our list of projects. So we're going to create a new project up here. We're going to say add. We're going to give this project a name. Tells us the name is valid. We're going to change the project type. Streets, roads, and highways. We're going to say new construction. Give it a value. So it might be a small project. Say maybe 50,000 US. Design and build. You can give it start date, end date, project number, business unit, and whatnot. It's good to give your project an image. I'm just going to choose our logo. And again, we can set up project address as well as a time zone and a language. I'm just going to hit save and continue. Okay, so the project has been saved. If we navigate, this is where we come to our project services. So we're still in, now we're in project admin, not account administration. So we just need to make sure we activate the two key things to activate Civil. First is our document management. So we're going to activate the service. We have a choice here to apply using a project template or don't. We're going to not apply a template in this case. It'll be completely blank. We're going to hit activate. Okay, we don't have the opportunity to do afterwards. We're going to activate without a template. That's going to activate that service. Okay, so now we have our document management, and the other one we need to activate is our design collaboration. Now, depending on which plan you have, you may have different services you have access to. In this case, I have access to project management, field, assets, model coordination, but you definitely need access to design collaboration in order to work this properly. So we're just going to activate the design collaboration service. And you can see this is our project home box. So we don't have any data at the moment, no design issues. But you see if we come back up to the WOP, we can see we have access to our document management and our design collaboration. Simply going to come to our document management. We're going to set up a couple of folders just to get ourselves started. Because this project has been set up by myself, I should receive an invite to the project, and this is actually now a link that will take me there in future reference. Okay, so here we are. We have our plans, we have our project files. So we need to put everything from our Civil 3D side into our project file. So we can come up to here and add some folders manually just by clicking the 3 ellipsis buttons here and click Add Subfolder. We're going to call this one CAD BIM and accept. We can create another subfolder under this. Call this one, say, BIM Management. I could say this one is called 04 models, and so on. Okay, in this video we're actually going to set up a BIM 360 project. This time we're going to be using a template. In this case, we're going to show that we can actually create our entire folder structure on the creation of a project. So we're going to come back. This time we're going to create a new project. So we need to actually come down to our account administration. Okay, now in the Services tab, just like before, we're going to activate the document management. In this case, we are going to apply a project template. Now I have one already set up here. Template ISO 19650. Notice it also tells us what's included in the template. So in this particular template, we have the document management services already activated. We haven't activated the design collaboration, so we will do that manually. So we're just going to activate this. And we're going to activate the design collaboration module. Okay, now in this particular project, we're going to add some members. So we're just going to navigate back under the project admin. You can see we have myself, I'm the project administrator here. We're just going to click add and add some more members. And we can add multiple in this case. So okay, and once we have those, we just click select. You can just type in a new email address. You just have to make sure that you hit enter to confirm the name and turn it into a blue rectangle. So just click select. You can see each of those have been added. They already have their companies added here, but we're going to change some of the roles. So Guy will set as a construction manager. We might make him a BIM manager. Robert, we're going to make a civil engineer. And Joan, in this particular case, we might make him an MEP. Or a surveyor in this case. And we can assign different levels of permission. Note the BIM manager already has project administration, the others don't. We're going to look at permissions in just a minute. So we're just going to add those members to the project. Okay, we're going to come back to our waffle from the top left and go back to our document management. So you can see in this particular case, we only have the one folder that's been created, but all the subfolders have already been set up. So we have our WIP, shared, published, archive. You can see under that, if we navigate to our civil, you can see we have all of our subfolders set up. So we have all of our model folder structures, as well as our drawings. And if we go back to the design, you can see we also have our data shortcuts folder. Now it's in here, where we have our underscore shortcuts folder already set up for beginning a new project. We can just simply come back to this level here, and we can actually change the name of this. And we can rename this to ACEC Project 1. And this will actually be our project name. So when it comes to permissions, if we want to specify particular permissions, all we need to do in this case is we have, in the case of the civil folder, we don't want the civil engineer accessing the architecture, the BIM management, MEP or structures, so we can come in here and apply permissions just by clicking the ellipsis, select permissions. You can see here at the moment only the admin have access here, so we're just going to click add, and we can actually add permissions either by role, company or user. So it's preferred to add members permissions by role. So if I click in a role here and just start to type in civil, you can see there's my role of a civil engineer. So anyone who has a civil engineer permission at this folder level can view, download, upload and edit. And we can add that. In the case of the surveyor, they won't be able to access this level. We might just give them level control access from this level onwards. Instead of being up at the civil level, we can come to the survey and we can assign permissions to the surveyor. So the civil engineer gets inherited roles. These permissions actually trickle down through the hierarchy. So if I assign a permission level up here at civil to the civil engineer, they have access to all the subfolders. Whereas down here in the survey, view, download, upload, edit, and put the surveyor's role in there, they only have access from that folder onwards. So now we'll look at setting up a new Civil 3D project from within BIM 360. Okay, so we're actually going to set up a new project, a Civil 3D project inside of BIM 360. This is the preferred method of working. However, in the next example, we're going to look at how to migrate a project across into BIM 360. But in this case, we haven't started the project. So what I have here is some source information sitting on my local drive. We're just simply going to copy this up into the BIM 360 ACC Project 01 folder. You can see we've got the WIP folder, Civil Model Survey. I'm simply just going to drag and drop. So this is Windows Explorer on my D drive. I simply have access to the BIM 360 folder structure up here. I'm just going to simply drag this into the 02 survey folder. You can see it's gone and transferred that file across. Now we're going to use that file back in Civil 3D as our reference. So we're going to come back into Civil 3D. We're going to create a new model, insert, land XML, and instead of navigating to a local drive, in this case, we're going to navigate to our BIM 360 folder, come to our account, select our project, and start to navigate through to the folder. And models, survey, and you see there's our XML file. Okay, I'm only going to bring in the definition. You can see our surface is created from the file on BIM 360. If we look at the surface definition, you can see the XML file is pointing to my local BIM 360 project, and this file will get maintained for other users on the job. Let's save the drawing and add it up to the BIM 360 project. So I'm just going to come up, File, Save. Again, we just navigate to our BIM 360 drive. And we're just going to give this a drawing name, Try, Serve, Round. You can see if we come to our desktop connector, we're going to explore this in a later session. Now is now syncing, and we should see that up on BIM 360 any minute. While that's happening, you can see we have our survey file has already been uploaded. Now you can see we've saved the file up to our BIM 360 project. It has the lock on it saying it's been locked by myself, and it's a 4.3 megabyte file. You'll also note that over here in your prospector, you'll see that we have the cloud icon with a pencil next to it with the word cloud in rectangular brackets. This is indicating that it is actually a file coming from BIM 360. Now I can close out of this drawing just by exiting. And when I exit the drawing and come back to BIM 360, the lock file will be released once it's been successfully synced up to the cloud. And again, we can monitor the progress by accessing the desktop connector pending actions button. And the lock is gone. So let's take a look at migrating our existing Civil 3D projects into BIM 360. Moving an existing project to BIM 360 must be done with care. Things like external references, or XREFs, these refer to any referenced object in Civil 3D. This can include things like DWGs, DGNs, rasters, Excel files, PDFs, XMLs. Path cleanup needs to happen regardless of what type of reference. When uploading to the cloud, the desktop connector will scan for dependencies and will upload everything needed by the project. This includes all aerial imageries, external point databases, point clouds, XML files, DWGs, DGNs, even Navisworks files associated with the project. Again, just to repeat, moving an existing project to BIM 360 must be done with care. Multiple problems can arise if the Civil 3D projects with existing references are saved to the cloud without proper preparation. This can include issues such as duplicating data that gets uploaded to the clouds, incorrect data or XREF paths, paths that are actually too long for the desktop connector, there's a maximum of 259 characters, as well as duplicating path structures. One of the more common mistakes made when uploading projects to BIM 360 is using XREFs as full paths. This causes BIM 360 to replicate the project folder structure every time it encounters a reference file. So it's definitely recommended to set your XREFs to overlay instead of attachment. The best way to migrate the project is to use Windows Explorer to drag and drop the project directories. This will be demonstrated in a video a little bit later in this presentation. Just note that when we upload the project folders to BIM 360, the default path for the local sync folder is C users your username BIM 360, followed by the account name, then the project name. Next, we're going to look at migrating an existing project on a local or network drive to BIM 360. The most efficient method for this is to simply use the drag and drop method. There is another option where you can actually upload via the BIM 360 application using the upload files button, but this is actually not recommended as it can time out on larger data sets. So in this case, we're going to upload it folder by folder. So for best results, it's best to break up the initial upload by dragging the top level folders one at a time to avoid overloading the system. And as the project is uploaded, BIM 360 examines each file to determine its links and its dependencies. So we must keep this in mind when we're updating our project structures to BIM 360. So for best results, typically upload references, your sources and your images first, and then your production drawings last. So in this case, I have a couple of design folders. I have the 04 models folder. Again, this is just a small example project. This has my data shortcuts as well as some design files. I have some master alignments. I have some design files and some alignment local files. So I'm going to take this entire 04 models file and put that up to BIM 360 first. Now, in order to do that, I'm just going to come back into my civil folder on BIM 360, and I'm actually just going to delete this out of my template project. So I'm just going to right click and hit delete. And I'm going to do the same for the drawings, because in this case I do have a drawings folder. I have 4 drawings, a sample sheet set, as well as an XREF folder and some images. So again, right click, and delete. Notice there's a difference. There's a free up space and there's a delete. Delete will actually delete items from the BIM 360 server. Free up space will simply delete the files from your local drive once they've been synced. That's why we always get the warning. I'm going to say yes. So it's always good to have a migration plan and making sure that the data is clean. And towards the end of this presentation, we'll go through some best practices around how to prepare our data for migration. So you can see in here, I have my civil folder. Here's my 04 models. I'm simply just going to left click, hold, drag, and release in the corresponding folder on BIM 360. You can see the transfer files process has begun. And if we open up our desktop connector, just from our tray, left click, pending actions, we can monitor the progress from here. Okay, you can see in this particular example, we have an example here having a look at related data folders. This means that Civil 3D has come across some elements in the files that couldn't initially be resolved. And so it's gone and created some additional folders. Okay, so you can see it's adding all the files, it's putting all the references into my data shortcuts, as well as creating the relevant folders inside. So if we take a look now, we can see we have our models folder. As we start to drill in, you can see our files have been uploaded. But you'll note here in this particular case, we have a line in Des RD01. This particular folder that has been created now, if we drill down into this, in our related data folder, these are the files that could not be found. You can see in this case, we have a surface file that has not been uploaded, which is our survey, which we need to go back and fix. So if we look back on BIM 360, the desktop connector has finished its operations. We can minimize that. Back in BIM 360, we're going to refresh. And so you can see in this case, we've created the 05 drawings as well again. So obviously we're using XREFs that have been found and repathed. Because they were set relative, they've actually appeared in the right location because these drawings are used in this 04 models. So this is going to save us a bit of time when we come to upload them in the future. But in this particular case, we do have a specific file that has been detected a related data problem. So we come to Des RD01. You can see it's created a subfolder up here. You can simply drill down into this. We can find the related data, and we can actually correct this. So you can see this is the actual survey file. Now this survey file is connected to the surface. So if we simply select this and come up to the move option, I can move this file into a different folder. I'm going to move this into our survey folder. And by doing that, BIM 360 for Civil understands that that XML file that we're moving is related to specific files, and it's going to go and repath once that's been moved. So now I can come back up. I can now select this folder and delete that. And lastly, we're now going to update the drawings folder. So you can see here we have a file called 05 drawings, which can navigate in there. We're going to navigate to the drawings in here. Again, we already copied some of the XREFs up. I can simply just drag and drop. Alternatively, if I just click on the sheet set, click and drag, all files associated with that sheet set will also be dragged across into BIM 360 and repathed. So I'm just going to simply select all of these folders again, left click, copy, and it begins that BIM 360 transfer process. We come to the desktop connector, and we can monitor the progress. Okay, we're just going to copy all. So again, BIM 360 is actually checking each drawing for all of its dependencies and making sure that everything gets copied along and repathed. Okay, you'll see the status has all changed to sync. So these are all synced now to my local drive, my BIM 360 folder. Just a quick note on moving project folders with regards to the relative data folder. If the references are not all set relative in your files, you'll see that a folder with the same name as the file and a related data folder. Desktop Connector recreates the full path for references. This is actually an undesirable situation. If other files use the same reference but also use a full path, then the reference will be uploaded multiple times. The best way to avoid this is by checking that every file, before uploading to BIM 360, ensure that the file structure doesn't lead to paths longer than 259 characters, and always ensure that you use relative paths. Let's now explore how we can use Civil 3D collaboration inside of BIM 360. Note now that in Civil 3D, we've redesigned the homepage to accommodate the BIM 360 design workflows. Simply select BIM 360 on the left side of the panel, and on the right you can navigate through to your account, project, and data folders in a similar fashion to that you'd use inside the web interface. So we're just going to look at how to open up drawings from within BIM 360. So you can see here on the Civil 3D 2021 homepage, we have our list of recent items. And if you look at the recent items, you can see the files that we've had open here. You can see the file type here actually determines whether it's a cloud-based or either a local or network-based file. So you can see this is my TriServe ground. It's currently located in BIM 360. There is a BIM 360 tab we can select. This is going to bring us to our BIM 360 folders. And what we need to do here is just navigate to our account. In this case, we already have the right one. So you can click on Change Account and then simply select the project. We're going to open up project files and we're going to navigate to that specific folder. So under Models, we'll open up our survey file to start with. And we'll open up TriSurvey ground. You can see it's been synced. This is the local, it's been synced locally. So I'm just going to click download that. And BIM 360 is going to go and check the latest version to make sure we have the latest version off the cloud. And then it'll begin the download process, and it'll start to download all the references and data shortcuts and all associated files alongside that this host drawing. Okay, so here we are inside BIM 360. You'll note that we also, in our prospect, we have the cloud icon with the pencil, with the word cloud inside the square brackets. We look at our surfaces. We're just going to check our surface references. Then come surfaces. And have a look at the surface properties. You'll note that from the previous exercise where we uploaded the XML file, we actually repathed the location of that to the survey folder. So BIM 360 has automatically handled that particular remapping or repathing. This is actually the preferred method to download files. You can also download files just by coming up to File, Open, Drawing, just as you typically would inside of Civil 3D. But this time, just navigate to the BIM 360 icon. And same as before, we're going to navigate to our account, select the project, and then start to navigate through the folder structure on BIM 360. In this case, we're just simply going to open up one of our design models. So I'm going to go Design, and we'll open up a design model. Again, checks the latest version. You'll note the desktop connector icon has a small green dot above it saying that this is currently processing. We'll explain what these different icons mean a little bit later in the talk. Because we've set the paths up to be relative, you can see my existing ground survey has been set up to a relative path location on BIM 360. Next example, you can see we actually have some alignments that have been data referenced in. Okay, we just need to make sure that we set our working folder in this case and associate the drawing. If we navigate to our BIM 360 folder, again we can very quickly under models, okay, there's our data shortcuts folder. We just simply navigate back up to O4 data shortcuts. That's our working folder. So you can see now our data shortcuts project has been associated to a cloud. You can see it has the cloud icon there, and it has all the references to our shortcuts. With the desktop connector, you can open up the pending actions dialog, and there are a few things you can do to actually check the status of your uploads and downloads. You can apply an action or apply all actions simply by selecting the row, right-clicking and selecting the option. This will help you cancel and retry the selected sync actions. To clear the action or clear all actions, this will cancel the sync and online versions will be out of sync. The file state inside the desktop connector gives you an understanding on what the state of a file is. A new file exists in the local drive and has never been uploaded. A cached file is up to date and in sync with the cloud version. Non-cached means there is no local cache of the file and only a placeholder of the data in BIM 360. Modified means the file has been modified locally and has not yet been uploaded. A stale file means your local cached file is an older version of that which is in the cloud. And then we have other states for conflict and errors. With the desktop connector, the icon status provides information around the state of the desktop connector. Typically, when the Autodesk logo is white, that means that the desktop connector is ready to go. When the desktop connector is running, the small white A will actually appear in the Windows system tray. The ones to take note of are the blue ones, which means the desktop connector is running, but it's actually running offline. A red dot means that pending tasks are in the desktop connector queue, and a green dot above the icon indicates that the desktop connector is actually working on processing your requests. Desktop connector also has some refresh information. So there is a delay before changes made in BIM 360 web interface are reflected in the desktop connector on your desktop. The minimum delay is approximately 1 minute, but the maximum delay varies for the different changes. So for accounts, you can usually expect a maximum of about 12 minutes for changes to take effect. Projects, folders, and documents, usually a maximum of around 3 minutes. And user permissions can take up to about 35 minutes. Note that the desktop connector view does need to be refreshed for changes to be displayed. The view is automatically refreshed every 10 minutes. Now, with regards to file locking, only one user at a time can edit a drawing file. This is no change from a typical local workflow. Saving a file will temporarily lock the file as the new information is shared to BIM 360. With syncing and versioning, when the file is saved and closed, Civil 3D will ensure a sync, and each sync creates a new version of the file. The file information can be found in the Civil 3D Start tab or in the Desktop Connector folders. Version comparing and rollback features are available in BIM 360 Document Management Web Interface. It's worth familiarizing yourself with some of the new document locking icons. So in the Prospector tab of the tool space inside of Civil 3D, you'll see that the icons are typically colored in blue, and with a blue cloud with a pencil indicates the drawing is open for edit and is locked by you. A padlock indicates it's read-only and has been locked by somebody else. On the BIM 360 page of the Startup tab, you can see that the icons are actually orange, surrounded by a dark background. The pencil icon usually indicates this is open for edit and locked by yourself. A single padlock means this is a read-only file and is locked by somebody else. So let's have a look at how we can support Civil 3D support and reference files inside of BIM 360. With data shortcuts, we set up the working folder. The complete set of related drawings and their data shortcuts for one or more engineering projects are stored in the working folder. The data shortcuts node on the Prospector tree displays only the shortcuts from the current project in the current working folder. A shortcut itself is just a small XML file, which is actually a pointer to another file. These files should not be edited. You can see in this example we have the underscore shortcuts folder, which is always a mandatory folder. If we go one level up, this is known as the project folder, and if we go up another level, that would be our working folder. With data shortcuts, we often need to be updating our references to ensure that the current version is always displayed in our drawing. This can be located in the Collaborate tab on the ribbon under Cloud Collaboration, check reference status. And when opening a drawing, references are checked and updated automatically. But sometimes in the middle of a project, you will need to check if the reference has been updated. Clicking this green circular button will actually go and check for the references of all of your data shortcuts. When it comes to repairing data shortcuts, shortcuts can often be broken. It is quite easy to break, but it typically occurs if the source drawing has been renamed or moved to a different location. You can actually identify a new name or location. It's actually a pretty easy thing to repair. If the source drawing contains multiple data shortcuts, you can identify the drawing that you're prompted to repair, and you can repair all of the references at once. You simply select the icon with a little warning symbol next to it, you right click and select Repair Broken Shortcut. Now this can occur either in the shortcuts source folders, which is at the bottom of your Prospector tree, or you can actually do it at the object level, which are your actual referenced data shortcuts. Still looking at managing data shortcuts through repairing. This is a process where you can actually look at either validating your data shortcuts or synchronizing the reference objects. This is actually located on the Manage tab on the ribbon. But another great method to actually repair your data shortcuts is to use the Manage Data Shortcuts option, as illustrated here in the top right of the slide. This will bring up a Data Shortcuts Manager, which allows you on the left side of the panel to select an object that already exists within your Civil 3D drawing. When you select the object on the left, a corresponding item on the right, which is our data shortcuts project, should also be selected. If we need to repath or repair the link, simply select the object in the left, which is in your drawing, match it to the corresponding item in the data shortcuts project on the right, and click the link to data shortcut option in the middle of the screen. This will actually relink the data shortcut from the project to your drawing. When it comes to XREFs, the best practice is to always upload your references to BIM 360 via the desktop connector, as we've previously demonstrated. It's preferred to use a relative path where possible, although understand that sometimes this is not possible and they have to be attached. You can actually browse to the desktop connector folder to link references. When it comes to surfaces and their references, it's ideal to add the surface reference file to BIM 360 and point to it from a Civil 3D model. This refers to XML files and point files. If your drawing already exists locally or on a network, you can upload the surface file via the desktop connector. When the related data folder is created, you can actually grab that surface reference inside of BIM 360, move it to a new location inside of BIM 360, and the paths will be updated automatically. With regards to sheet sets and reference templates, sheet sets, including the DST file, these can actually be uploaded to BIM 360 through the desktop connector. All files that are associated with the DST are also uploaded, including all of their references. Care should be taken to make sure that all the sheets in the DST are audited and checked for proper pathing, the file name lengths, and so forth. This is used to avoid the related data, which can actually cause some issues downstream. When syncing locally, opening a drawing associated with the DST will also download and sync all the files to your local drive that are within the sheet set. Reference templates work in a similar manner. If a drawing is uploaded which contains a reference template, it will create a related data folder and you will have to repath inside of BIM 360. The best practice here is to upload the reference templates first and then add these to your drawing from the BIM 360 desktop connector prior to uploading that drawing to the cloud. Now finally, we're going to look at some best practices and recommendations when you're moving forward into the BIM 360 environment. I guess one of the most important things to do is to actually start planning ahead. You want to start avoiding unexpected results. So communication amongst your team members is probably one of the most important things you can do when migrating or setting up a project in BIM 360. Discuss and plan your project workflows when collaborating. Make sure the team is fully aware of the recommended file linking procedures for BIM 360 design, as it can vary from product to product. And of course, don't be afraid to reach out and get some help on your journey. From the desktop connector side, understanding the difference between deleting and freeing up space. Deleting documents from the connected drive while it's connected will actually result in the documents being deleted from the BIM 360 project. So that's why the free up space option is there. It will actually enable you to delete drawings from your local cache. This will help you check for free disk space and just understand the correct way to clear your local cache. Desktop connector actually does not have a mechanism for specifying a different drive for a cache location, so it is dependent on having storage on your C drive. It's always good to keep your desktop connector and your Civil 3D versions up to date because we're releasing desktop connector versions once a month, so it's always good to stay on top of latest releases. And always monitor your pending actions window to review the actions in there. If these aren't cleared, you will be receiving many follow-up notifications. And importantly, from a drawing maintenance perspective, really this is where we need to start understanding about, how can we clean up our drawings? And here are just a couple of tips and tricks just to keep those drawings clean. From a drawing maintenance perspective, you've got the purge versus the minus purge options. The purge option itself will actually bring up a dialog box, which will let you purge items. But typing in minus purge on the command line will actually help you get rid of things such as regeps. which can actually bloat your drawing out and keep them at an unnecessarily large size. But the purge option doesn't actually go into elements like removing unnamed objects or zero length geometry, empty text, or blocks from locked layers. So that's where we recommend the use of the map 3D command map clean. And this is a really handy function because it enables you to delete duplicate objects, delete short elements. And as you can see in the top right item there's actually quite a lot of extended cleanup functionality available in that map clean. So yeah, don't forget to use that one. It's actually really handy. You can also W block out. So if you happen to come across a corrupt drawing, you can simply W block the elements out into a new clean drawing and save that. You also have the auditing and the recovering commands. And when it comes to XREF, I've emphasized this quite a lot. Really try and stick to relative paths. It will make the journey a lot easier and smoother as you migrate to BIM 360. It's also worthwhile unloading references or X references when they're not actually in use. And lastly, if you do have any drawings that need multiple changes, then the batch save utility, which was released a few years back, will actually allow you to apply custom scripts across multiple drawings. So you can actually apply multiple purges and audits and XREF repathing checks all within a handful of scripts. And the batch save utility is a really fast way to iterate over your files. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for their time, taking the time out to view this today. If there are any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact me, and have a great day.